Welcome to History Nuts. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the founder of Family Tree Nuts. At Family Tree Nuts, we build trees for people, and we produce videos at historic locations and videos that help honor your ancestors.
I'm Jameson Cable, founder of the Kentucky History Podcast, where we talk about anything Kentucky history, events, people. If it has to do with Kentucky, we're going to discuss it.
And we've teamed up together to bring you History Nuts.
History Nuts is a live show where we talk about, you guessed it, history.
Right. History seems to be less and less to people today, but we are trying to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Absolutely. History is a passion of ours for sure, but it connects to you. Russ, tell us about the best part of the show.
You can join in. You can comment and ask questions live.
We've got a great topic today, and we know you're going to enjoy this episode of
History Nuts.
Whoa.
And we're live. We're live. Are you there, Jameson?
I'm here. I saw we just moved over there. So, I'm here.
Man, we're doing this brand new format there, and there we go. Now I can see us there. We're both on there. Well, are you back in school yet?
Yes, we're back in school. Not entirely, of course, just partially, but it's happening. I work today. I've been working for 2 weeks now, so.
Oh, wow. 2 weeks out of 10 months is not bad, I guess. So,
hey, this is only January of this year. That's 2 out of 3.
Hey, that's perfect. Perfect. Good deal. We're not in here, but hey, we've got a really, really, really cool show tonight. I'm excited about this one.
Me too. I really like this topic, this historic figure, pretty close to your neck of the woods. But before we start, chime in from where you're at, correct? Share if you want to.
It's like Chris chimed in and said, "Hey, gents, what's up, Chris?"
Hello, Chris.
Chris,
where are you at, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know where Chris is. Chris is actually my brother, and the one that has Steady Live. Used to be called Steady Ready. They're Steady Live now, and the ones that are coordinating all this. So make sure you check them out too. So,
yep, they got a Facebook page and everything. So check it out.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, absolutely. YouTube, all that kind of good stuff. But great show tonight. John G. Fee. What a radical fella, isn't he?
When you think about it, he definitely is a radical for his time, I guess would be the better way to put it. But very interesting dude. Really close to where you live. How many people, and I ask this, how many people do you think, even in Madison County, know who John G. Fee is right off the top of their head?
It's funny you said that. John G. Fee founded Berea, and Berea is where Madison Southern High School is, and it's where all of my kids either went to or go to. And right when I was walking in here to come in here today, I asked my daughter said, "Hey, what's the show about tonight, Daddy?" And I said, "John G. Fee." She's like, "Who the heck is that?" And she named a couple other people that are from Berea their whole lives. She's like, "Do you think they know who he is?" And that's sad, isn't it?
It is. It's a sad thing because after I read his biography or his autobiography about a year ago.
Wow, this is gonna be one topic that you know more than me about.
Oh,
how about that?
Whoa. We might have to get a poll or somebody's gonna have to put a poll out to see if that's true. I don't know.
Just kidding. But you read his autobiography.
Yeah. So it's about a year ago I read the autobiography, and it was really interesting. Which, in any historical figure, if you read their autobiography, you could kind of assume there's a little bit of bias in it, but with him, I don't feel like there was too much, especially with his character and how he was perceived and what he did throughout his life. I mean, he was a very noble guy, and definitely stayed to his beliefs, man. Did not give an inch for what he believed in. So something we all probably can consider, learn from. A very, very moral guy, I guess I can say that. So,
yeah, very selfless. That's for sure. because this guy is so daggone radical, man. I mean, he risked his life for his beliefs many times.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to get too far ahead of the story here, but I'm kind of stuttering with what even to say here. But he what he did at his time of what was going on was completely crazy. I mean, if you think about it, for many different reasons,
Hmm.
where he did it, when he did it, the 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 climate of the community, I guess, is the best way to
Yeah.
to describe that. But so I guess we better get into the story. Who we're talking
Yeah.
about? We're doing a lot of beating around the bush here. Let's.
People didn't want to see or didn't come here to see us talk in circles. So,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
So, hey, make sure you chime in where you're from, where you're watching from, and ask us any questions. Give us some input too. If you guys got some thoughts and beliefs or some other information that we're not mentioning, make sure you bring that up so we can share it with everybody. That's the advantage. This is live, guys. This is literally live. So let's go for it. When was he born?
all right. Well, he was born in Bracken County, Kentucky, and to a father and mother. Of course, his father was actually John Fee too. I don't know if his middle name was G, so I don't know if there's the senior and junior thing going on. Um, but he was he was there in Bracken County, I guess. That's the best way to start it off. Uh,
And where's Bracken? Do you know where Bracken's at?
oh, northeastern, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's up there on the river, on the Ohio River, next to Mason County,
Yeah, I was
Maysville, right
about to say
there.
Mason County, Maysville, up east of that, I
About
guess.
60 miles or so down upriver from Cincinnati
Hmm.
there. So, yeah, there's
Um,
not a whole lot in Bracken County today. So, do you know
no,
what
and
their high
actually,
school
honestly,
mascot is? What's their high school mascot?
I've never been to Bracken County, I don't
The
think.
polar
So
bears. Isn't that
the
wild?
polar bears.
That's why I know that, because Bracken County polar bears is quite a unique
Yeah.
mascot. But
Well, it's fun. It's funny. Um, it's funny because me and Mr. Pope did an episode on the podcast about him, and you can go check that out on Apple Podcast, whatever. And I don't want to get too much into it, but when you talk about historical people, it's always interesting because we kind of look at them in a way to kind of, I don't want to say like we can be a little arrogant, naive, I guess, whenever we're looking back at them, and it's easy to point the finger. They're wrong, they're right. They're stupid or smart, whatever. And so sometimes, like I said, that's a bit naive. However, by saying that, I can 100% support John G. Fee and his actions. He's somebody I guess I would hold up there in the Kentucky lore as a very well historical person. And you know, I guess it disappoints me that so many people don't know about him as much. Um, because he's and people love Lincoln. He wasn't even really he hardly even lived in Kentucky. And John G. Fee was here at the same time, battling the same cause, and is kind of swept under the bus or swept under the rug. So
yeah, Fee would have been, boots on the ground, as we call it in the military. He would have
yeah.
been, he was actually out there in the fight where Lincoln was kind of giving some orders and commands, from the command
Hmm.
center. So,
Hmm.
yeah, he definitely is. I mean, he came from a abolitionist family, didn't he?
No, and that's where it gets started. So his
Yeah.
father there in Brecken County, he actually owned some slaves, and you know, John had no problem with that, and in the with his dad on the farm, all that. But eventually he converted to Christianity, and he got baptized. And his father actually was like, hold on, don't do that yet. And his father waited, or he waited, and him and his father both converted to Christianity. And John, eventually, I think 14, 15, pretty young guy, went to study at Presbyterian college, I guess, or Methodist college there. He studied in Cincinnati, Oxford, Ohio, which Miami University, a few different places. But during that time, he really he inherited the motto of love thy neighbor as thyself. And to him and his logic, that included slaves. And therefore, slavery was number one sin. He went to fight it and fight it to the end. It kind of became his mission in his life. And not only just fighting it here, there, in Ohio. He wanted to get rid of slavery in Kentucky. That was his number one goal, and that's what he did. He devoted his life to it. So that's kind
It's
of the beginning.
completely radical. You hear about abolitionists often in Boston, Connecticut, um, Boston, Connecticut, New York, Ohio. You hear about abolitionists up there and things like that, but you don't hear about too many abolitionists in a slave state.
Yeah, yeah, and he got a lot of help. Excuse me. He got a lot of help. I shouldn't say a lot of help. He got some help from time to time by other abolitionists, but a lot of the time he was on his own, and that's kind of the way it is. So a quick question for the people who are maybe watching: do you know who John G. Fee is? Yes or no? Because
Yeah, before you tuned in today, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
he
like
gets on.
Mary.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say Mary's coming in from Corbin. Don Smith said that he Googled him beforehand. And Carolyn's watching from Morristown, Tennessee. And Josh is watching from Georgetown, Kentucky.
Cool.
I was there this week doing some stuff. But we're going to be back in Georgetown doing some stuff here in the next few days. So, but anyway, yeah. So he comes back to Kentucky. He's a minister. Did you know that his dad gave him a graduation gift from graduating from seminary?
Can you hear me?
Did you know that, Jameson? Jameson, my friend, are you here? Hello. I don't know if you can hear me or hear Jameson or anything. So I hear to keep going, so I must still be here. Maybe Jordan or Jameson froze up there. Josh said we have an abolitionist in my state, Missouri. His name is Dr. David Nelson. We'll have to take a look at that, Joshua. Get some more information there. What I was just asking Jameson is that he knew that his dad gave him a graduation gift, and he did. Now, remember we were saying a minute ago that his father had 13 slaves. And if you know anything about the time period, he's a pretty wealthy guy to have 13 slaves. Well, for a graduation gift, John G. Fee's father gave him 409 acres in Indiana, which he promptly sold and purchased a lady from his father that basically raised him, and used the rest of the money to start some churches and things. But I thought that was a pretty interesting thought right off the bat. From graduation, he purchased as a slave from his father, and it definitely strained the relationship with his dad. He later on went to. Don said, "I'm still going." We've lost Jameson, so unfortunately, you got to look at me here for a minute. Here, I'm sure he's coming right back in. He'll be right back. But he joins the. He starts to look for a job to be a pastor, but he's an abolitionist in a slave state in an area that's grew a lot of tobacco and had a lot of agriculture. So he had a hard time finding a church. He was able to finally land a church in what's modern day Lewis County, Kentucky. Lewis County didn't have as many slaveholders, and so he started being a pastor there. He's part of the Presbyterian Church, and the Presbyterian Church was allowing slave members to join. You could still own slaves and be part of the Presbyterian Church. And he had a huge problem with that, and eventually left the Presbyterian Church altogether. And for the rest of his life, he became non-denominational. He didn't believe in denominations. He believed that that separated and divided congregations and things, of keeping their eyes off of what keeping their eyes off of what they're there in church to do in the first place. Okay, so looks like we're going to go to a really, really short commercial. Join us on the other side. We're going to check out a real fast commercial with about the Kentucky History Podcast.
What Kentucky meant to them. This land between the meadows was the name that the Wyandot, Kantawa.
You know, they'd always say Paducah is halfway between Monkey's Eyebrow and Possum Trot.
I moved to Lexington in 1996 to attend University of Kentucky College of Law.
I was born in the great state of Kentucky in Pike County at the Pikeville Methodist Hospital.
Grew up on Short Street in downtown Lexington.
I grew up in northern Kentucky.
Contrary to popular belief, Western Kentuckians are still just as Kentucky.
And met my wife there. She's from Lawrence County, Kentucky, and I never had any notion of leaving after I got here.
My whole family is still, we're generational. We've been there in Ballard I was able to know my great-grandparents and, obviously hear lots of stories about my great-great-grandparents.
We got to work on a movie, explores Kentucky culture and history and the stories of a wide range of people who live there.
Jet would never talk about being a night rider. It was a secret organization. You couldn't divulge your information.
Yeah.
My great-great-granddaddy's musket, double-barrel shotgun that they passed down to me.
Local history is something that interests me.
So Kentucky is very dear to me, and I love it very much.
A lot of fond memories of Kentucky. Spent a lot of time on the grandparents' tobacco farms.
Both of us growing up in Kentucky, being from Kentucky, value and see the rich history. There's so many things Kentucky offers.
Makes our state beautiful, and honestly, there's so much colorful history in Kentucky. There's, I don't know. I feel like Kentucky, it's got its own
thing. Yeah.
Got its own thing. It really does, and I say that being a proud Kentuckian. So maybe but honestly, even all my friends that aren't, from there, have always Kentucky's got something going on. And it definitely does.
Ended up kind of on some back roads and just exploring Kentucky's beauty and its history.
When you find something you enjoy, you just teach it, but you keep learning.
Love Kentucky.
Kentucky's a special place.
I'm a proud Kentuckian.
And they came up with Kentucky.
Are we back?
We're here.
Jameson's
Can you hear me?
back. Jameson's back. Hey, I don't know where you went, and I don't know what happened, but as soon as you left, we got way more people watching the show. I don't know what happened, kind of thing, and they just kind of held there,
That boosts my morale for sure.
Well, I'm glad you're back. Basically, I was just telling him, how he was looking for a job in Kentucky, and had a hard time finding a job, and because he was an abolitionist, and eventually took a pastorate there in Lewis County, but they allowed slaveholders to be part of have memberships, basically. So, and he left the church, the Presbyterian church, and he was basically a non-denominationalist for the rest of his life due to the separation. So that's pretty much where we're at. Bring back up to speed there.
Well, it's pretty interesting because with that situation, he was so adamant, against slavery that if the church wasn't willing to denounce it altogether, he would not affiliate with any church outside of, or unless they denounced that. And that's what happened with a lot of denominations. He just wouldn't stick with them, or be part of them because they wouldn't abolish or speak out against slavery, which was of course a huge topic, a huge issue at the time. And churches were kind of in a mix as well. They had members that were slaveholders, so they didn't want to offend or get rid of those members, and their hands were kind of tied. They didn't really go with fee. So, or in many cases they didn't. So,
and this is a very, very complicated time. Especially in Kentucky. We often have in our minds what society was like then with, black folks and white folks, but it was extremely complicated. And it was complicated town by town or area by area. There's the church there in Stamping Ground, Kentucky, that was integrated from its beginnings.
Yeah.
They had slaves and freed blacks and whites all went to the same church, and then you have other places where that was a big time no, kind of thing. So what a massively complicated time. It's just so that's not the show tonight, kind of thing. But so that's the world that he's coming up in, and so he leaves the Presbyterian Church and he gets picked up by the American Missionary Association, where he's writing articles and such about abolitionism and things, and he's picked up by a pretty wealthy individual kind of as a sponsor, isn't he?
Yes. So Cassius Clay kind of hops on.
Muhammad Ali?
No, the first Cassius Clay, way back then. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is who Muhammad Ali is named after, correct? Is that?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, okay. Yeah, double checking. So, did you talk about his issues with his father?
Well, I talked about how his dad gave him 409 acres in Indiana, which he promptly sold and bought a slave from his father, a lady that had raised him.
Yeah, so that was a very, like, him and his father, like, not only did he, expel or were not able to, I guess, stick with the denominational church, he disowned his father in a sense, like he would not stay with his father, live on his father's land, all because his father owned slaves. And like one of his life's works as well was trying to get his father to realize, I guess, in his mind, his sins, to come over and to free his slaves. And like his father, he sold that land and bought the slave from his father. And in that sense, his father, like the slave, I can't remember her name exactly, but she did not want to leave her children. So John built a house next to his father's land there, and pretty much told his father that if he did anything to that woman, that he would come and get him, or I don't know exactly if he was saying he'd be violent towards his father, but he would, I guess, oppose his father in any way he could if he mistreated her or didn't allow her to see her children and so forth. And she actually comes back into play a few times throughout his life, but he was a compelling guy, man. He was going to stick to his guns. But anyway, so he's trying to find a church to set up, and he goes throughout the state, trying to get a following, and he does. About everywhere he goes, he gets a following of people, and about everywhere he goes, he runs into trouble. I speak of this time because it happened in Rockcastle County, which is my home county, if you want to call it that. Right. But he was in Madison County. If you think of Berea, is right on the border of Rockcastle, and he came to a place in the northern part of Rockcastle to preach a sermon, and he came there once. And after he got done preaching, he was met with some anti-abolitionist or some pro-slavery people, and they told him, don't come back. If you come back again, we'll have some problems. And he held up the Bible and said, I listen to no man. And he's like, this is the only thing I follow, which was very admirable for sure. So he goes back to Berea, but again, like, schedules another meeting in Rockcastle. Goes back there again, same people surround the house that he's having his sermon at, his lessons. And when he comes out, they again say, we told you not to come here, and you're coming with us now. So they tied him up, and he had a friend that came with him. They tied him and his friend up, put him on horses, took him out to a creek. They untied his friend and began whipping his friend, like, numerous times. And they looked at John and said, hey, you're next. Don't come back to Rockcastle. And he said no. He's like, I'll do what, hold up the Bible, what the Bible tells me. I listen to no man. And surprisingly enough, they didn't whip him. they just tied him up and told him to leave and not to come back. But then, what does John do? He comes back again.
What did his friend do?
His friend, I know.
You know?
His friend's like, man, they whipped me to death. What's the deal? But he comes back again, and like he's already sent out the message saying he's coming. People are gathering, and he actually receives message again saying that he will be killed. But he ignores it, goes back, and this time though they don't kill him. They tar him and feather him, and kind of try to mock him and humiliate him in a way, and they end up letting him go again walk back to Berea, into his home to where his family was. So pretty crazy, just in that sense. And that's not the only time that happened. That happened numerous times. But pretty crazy. Just to think that he was that knew he was going to be persecuted in this way, but did not stop. We got a question here. Can you see that, Russ?
Yeah.
Or not a question, a comment, I should say. Can you see
want me to read it?
Oh, yeah.
You want me to say it so I can actually
speak read it.
Or something? Todd Barron says, "Hey, love what you guys are doing." And Josh Clayton said, "We had an abolitionist in my state in Missouri, Dr. David Nelson." I think Josh also said David Nelson attended Center College in Danville and worked at the start of Danville Theological Seminary. That's awesome.
Cool.
That's right there. Yeah, at the same place. That's Center College. That's that famous place. So this was a hub for that kind of thing, for free thinking. That's my dad's a pastor. My dad's preached revivals. All that kind of stuff. I just can't imagine. A world, my dad going over to the next county or something like that and getting tarred and feathered, and getting whooped and stuff like that. The worst thing I had to worry about is having to wear a Deborah and tie or something in church, kind of thing. But what a radical dude that stood up for what he believed in. But it was so radical because it was the stuff that he was preaching rocked to the very core of the economic structure of the area.
Yeah.
So that's why. I mean, I guess it would be like going and saying that, I don't know what you relate it to today, except for like nobody can be farmers. Nobody. You're gonna have to let a machine, farm everything or something like that. How much of it would rock the impact, or impact the foundation of the society. So, but he didn't care, and made a major difference. So in 1953, he said Muhammad Ali gives him some land down in southern Madison County, Kentucky. Cassius Clay, not Muhammad Ali. Cassius Clay's a guy we're going to have to do because he's quite the character.
Yes, yeah, and so they actually had a big, I guess you could call it a meeting, revival of sorts with Cassius Clay, and like John G. Fee and Cassius Clay both spoke at this revival, and promoting abolitionists and condemning slavery, and like people really, I guess, had enjoyed it, but as people left, they said because John G. Fee and Cassius Clay didn't necessarily agree on everything. But they actually would afterwards. People said, Cassius Clay, he's right as far as he's a politician, but John G. Fee is right as in morals, and I take that as it is. The preacher be more moral than the politician, but
sure not. Well, I don't know. Depends on
easy.
Yeah.
But he gave him some land down there, or he got the land for Berea, and he built his house there. He the community grew, and he also built a school, and this was the first integrated school. I guess I know in Kentucky for sure. Yeah,
Modeled after Oberlin College in Ohio.
Yeah, so his
Yeah.
first integrated school. And think about that, like this is the middle of the 1800s.
Right.
How kind of radical, as we've said, that would be.
Less than 6 years from the beginning of the Civil War. He creates a school that's co-racial and co-educational. Invited girls to come there too.
Yes, women. He and that was his thing. I mean, he felt that everybody deserved education, everybody deserved that chance, and to say it in this way, he really kind of, and even Berea College today still kind of holds those values of letting people come to work there, work for their education, and it's kind of amazing that those principles still are held up as in students at Berea and so forth. But I mean, you can't think of it enough. Think of something radical that you were willing to disown your family and pretty much stand on your own. And in 1860, he stood on his own for sure, or by far, I guess. Where do you want to move to now? Where do you want to go from here? Talk about his wife?
Well, I don't know much about his wife. I know that they knew each other as children. Go Van says that her daughter lives in Carthage, Indiana, and her house is the oldest in that town, and was used as the underground and it was used for the Underground Railroad for the slaves. Sounds like we need to do a video at this house here in Carthage, Indiana. So that'd be pretty cool. Sounds like it needs a video. So he starts the college. Oh no, you're going to talk about his wife. Talk about his wife.
Yeah, just a little bit here. She like you said, they knew each other for a long time, but she was just as devoted to the to the abolitionist cause as he was. There was many times that he would go to a place that he knew he would be threatened, and she would be waiting with a group of men and rifles and so forth, her included, to come and rescue him if needed. Come and take on the mob or come and rescue him. And there was actually one time that he had went somewhere, hadn't returned, and they were like, it's time to go in. So they start marching in towards the area. And as they're marching in, they actually meet him, stripped of his clothes and everything, marching out. So, they never really had to come and save him, but they were always ready to act. And there was during the Civil War, they got split up, and she had to take her and the children. I think they had a son and a daughter. They maybe another one. I can't remember right off. Maybe more than that, but either way, she went the long way around, buggy and carriage, through the Confederate lines into the Union lines, and to meet back up with him after they left Berea, because it got really during the Battle of Richmond and stuff. They kind of had to get out of the way because of obvious reasons.
Well, that kind of is the topic of the title of the show tonight. They forced him to leave.
Yeah.
I think in 1859 he's in Boston. He goes to Boston to recruit, fundraise for the college for abolitionists and stuff. Spend some time, I think, with Harriet Beecher Stowe's family and their church, raising money. It ignites it. While he's gone, though, a bunch of men come to Berea and tell the leaders, get the heck out of here. You got 10 days to get out of the state. Get out. Can you imagine this? I mean, and the people petition the governor and say, hey, he's kicking us out of our town here. They're telling us to get out of the state. And the governor says, ain't nothing I can do about it. I mean, think about that,
That's insane.
Depending upon which side of the table you're talking to, the governor themselves says, we can't help you. Yes, you better get out. And they did, So from 1859 to 1864, Fee lives up in Cincinnati, kind of in exile, during the Civil War. And what you're talking about is that one time they tried to come back to Berea, so that's amazing.
It really is. He meets, and he's involved in a lot of this stuff. Salmon Chase, who became the governor of Ohio. He who's also an abolitionist as well, and just many other people as well. But during the Civil War, again, so Camp Nelson, we all are probably quite familiar with Camp Nelson, and during that time, him and his family come to help the people at Camp Nelson, who are the families and so forth. All over the place. He is basically giving his life and his aid to people in need.
Well, let's talk about Camp Nelson a second, because you and I know about Camp Nelson, but lots of folks may not. Camp Nelson was a Union camp, but right there in Jessamine County, right on the Kentucky River there. But it was a major hub for freed slaves to join the Union Army. And that's where they received their initial training and such before they shipped them off to parts, throughout the war and things. A lot of those troops were only able to really participate in about 9 months or so of the Civil War before it was over. But like you were saying, they brought their families with them, like their wives and kids, and that became a problem because the Army was not prepared to take care of all those people. So that's where people like Fee, John G. Fee, petitioned politicians to get money and stuff to build infrastructure, schools and hospitals and such like that. Basically made a community for the church, and one of those churches is still there today. So.
Yeah, it's really like, I mean, noble. Again, I can't praise the man enough, I guess. But yeah, so he does that. I'm trying to think. Eventually, he does go back to his. So we were saying how he kind of was in exile. He does eventually come back, and to the freed lady, the freed slave he had bought from his father, and she ends up.
Juliet Miles is her name, by the way.
Yes,
Juliet Miles.
Yes. She ends up. Oh, I'm going blank here. She ends up going to. I'm thinking she gets put in jail. And he goes to visit her in jail and trying to help her out that way. Eventually, I think he's able to get her back out of jail and get her children freed from his father, so that they can live out their life. I think at some point, after the Civil War, obviously the slaves are freed, and his I wouldn't say he really makes up with his father, but he kind of, I guess, lets bygones be bygones, and he feels accomplished as far as the Civil War is over. Slaves are freed to an extent and so forth, but he still continues to preach the word.
Yeah, and preach the word, and also serve on the board at Berea College and such. And I think they have their first graduate in 1871, kind of thing. And you can see some of those old photos that are out there of the first graduating classes, of 5 or 6 people and such. But he was definitely on the boots on the ground changer. 1873 is the first degree that they had. Are you familiar with Berea College, how they operate with, like, how do you get enrolled and pay for your college there?
Yeah, well, you work there, right? You had to work on campus, and
it's one of the few remaining. I think there's 3 or 4 left in the whole country, I think, that are work studies colleges. Another one's Alice Lloyd, and that means that nobody pays tuition. No tuition. Think about that. But you have to work. You might wash dishes. You might work in the base, or the campus facilities. You might be a tutor. You might work in a library. Whatever it is, you have to work there on campus, which makes it self-sustaining, kind of thing. They don't have as many employees, of course, there because it keeps their budgets down. But the whole point of that is they've targeted Appalachian youth you know, underprivileged, and of course they have lots of minorities that are attending there. A lot of times they're from the deep South, but you graduate with absolutely zero debt whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now that sounds like a place anybody want to go, but you know the number changes all the time. You can't make above a certain threshold of income in your family to attend, and that disqualifies a tremendous amount of people. You know, so it is for, and you might call it underprivileged use of America in order for them to get a step ahead, kind of thing. So
and you know it just goes to you know the length that it's been open. I mean, it's been, you know, it's one of the oldest colleges in the state.
Sure.
And the fact that it still kind of holds true to that, helping those that are down, you know, bring themselves up. Like, you know, just John G. Fee's motto, man, treat others or treat thy neighbor as thyself. You know, that's, you know, lifting people up was his thing. He wanted to help people out. And, you know, as far as like historical figures, if you can't stand by that, you know, you're not going to find too much to stand by, I guess.
Yeah, it's an amazing figure that, you know, there's very, very few people around today that would think negatively about Fee, you know, but at his time, you know, he would have been completely ostracizing it. Yeah, you know, kind of thing. Almost a John Brown, not as far as close as, you know, as a John Brown, but every day he was in danger for what he believed in.
Yeah. And
he continued to do so and forsaken all, kind of thing. So in that case, no matter what you think about his policies and things, he's a no matter what you think about him. I mean, if you don't like what he had to think about, you probably don't live in this century. But you know, gosh, man, it's amazing that he wasn't any bigger than he was. You know, I know. Was he recruited to run for public office ever? Do you know?
If he was, I would about guarantee he turned it down and said no.
And that goes with it. It's kind of what I was thinking about of his character. You know, this guy, he never became rich. You know, and it became a mover and a shaker kind of thing. He donated so much of it. The best way, you know, when I study about him, I think about him as his life parallels like a lot of priests. You know, priests that are totally married, or nuns that are married to God, and their life 100% revolves around that because of the way that he lived his life, even though he did have a family. So, but really, really interesting fellow.
Yes, by far. I mean, you know, I know there's a statue of him on Berea's campus there.
Sure.
But he definitely is just, you know, unknown to a lot of Kentucky, and, you know, in my opinion, needs to be shouted from the rooftops, man. He's a great Kentuckian. So.
Absolutely. So let's help to get that word out. Ellis Short says, interesting stuff. Originally from Sumner County, Tennessee, but good evening from Arizona. So Ellis is checking us out from Arizona. But, yeah, man. So, well, anything else you'd like to say about Fee before we sign off?
Well, you know, like I said before, I think we've covered most of it. And if you ever get a chance to get his biography, check it out. I got it off of a library app, so I could, you know, just read it from my phone. I'm sure there's one at Berea. Berea College surely has a John G. Fee autobiography. If you want to get it there, get it on a library loan or something like that. It's a very good read, and just so much compassion. He has such a rich life that he kind of, like you said, just gave it all to other people. And his passion, you know, me personally being from Kentucky, he was just so intent. Like, he could have went to Indiana, Ohio, he could have went north, and, you know, to free states and been there, but he was determined to, you know, set Kentucky free, you know, free the slaves, and help out his homeland. Again and again in his autobiography, he talks about his passion for Kentucky. So it resonates a lot with me. So.
Absolutely.
Check them out if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. So what's going on the next week or two with Kentucky History Podcast?
Well, so we got an episode coming out soon about Simon Gertie, a controversial figure. Yeah. somebody you really gotta look at the time frame of his.
I don't care. I don't like him. I don't like that guy at all.
Well, we're coming at it from a neutral perspective there, Russ. A neutral perspective.
I'll try. Oh yeah, you're doing it. I'm not doing it. You're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that going on. I do got an interview set up with some local Kentucky musicians, so that'll hopefully be coming soon as well, in the next few weeks at least. So that's some Kentucky podcast stuff going on.
Yeah, man. We've got some great edited videos coming out of Daniel Boone stuff in Missouri and Kentucky, and some George Rogers Clark stuff edited is coming out over the next few days here. We've got some ruins videos coming out from some churches in South Carolina that Amanda's done there that's coming out too. Really cool stuff. We're going to be down, I think, and we got to do some stuff in Georgetown, Kentucky, and we're looking at doing some stuff right now in Pall Mall, Tennessee, which is where Mark Twain's family lived before he was born, and also where Alvin C. York, the most, incredible warrior in World War I, was at there. And so that's some of that stuff coming up here real soon. So really excited about that. And we've got a lot of guests that we've scheduled to come on too, haven't we?
Oh yeah. And we're gonna have to go to the jailhouse in Scott County, where Caleb Powers was, because
that's right.
That's pretty cool.
I was there a couple days ago. That's for sure. That's our next show, isn't it, Caleb Powers?
Caleb Powers, yeah. And I've been posting a lot of posts about newspaper articles that were written during that time. So if you want to go to the Kentucky History Podcast Facebook page, you can see a lot of the posts there. That's another thing I'm just deep into is the assassination of William Goebel. It's just so crazy.
Powers was Secretary of State, I think, and was charged 837 times for the same crime, wasn't he? So
yes,
yes. Well, good deal. Yeah, man. So I guess we'll get ready to sign off, and make sure you like and share the post. Make sure you subscribe onto our YouTube channel at Family Tree Nuts, and of course at Kentucky History Podcast. A lot of people don't realize, guys. My own mother asked me, "What's it going to cost me to subscribe?" You know, I was like, "Mom, if you subscribe, it's free.
You just hit subscribe. That's all it costs."
So yeah, subscribe, and that way you'll get a notification when we post new stuff on there. So we're really working hard to grow that lately. So, this is go ahead. You say it.
Oh, this is the first time we're live on YouTube too. So
yeah.
If you're on YouTube, man, share it out.
So this is live on 4 formats on Family Tree Nuts Facebook and YouTube, and Kentucky History Podcast Facebook and YouTube. So, yeah, man, absolutely, definitely. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next week, Jameson.
All right, sounds good.
Buddy.
See you next time.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Subscribe to us. Remember, you can watch this video anytime. You can watch it anytime. And hey, guys, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find nuts in your family tree.
Man, I wish I had written down Grandma's stories. How many times do we hear that statement? Way too often, our ancestors' priceless stories die with them and are lost forever. At Family Tree Nuts, we conduct and video document what we call life interviews. We sit down with your elder family member for hours and ask them questions all about their life, from their childhoods to the present day. What was their favorite thing to do for fun when they were a kid? Tell us about your grandparents. What places did you live? Who were your friends? How did you meet your spouse? The list is endless. Sometimes family members like to sit in on the interview and ask the questions. We professionally film, produce, and publish the interview into short story clips, as well as the full interview onto our YouTube channel. These videos are easy to be shared with all of your family, easy to find for the rest of your life, and your descendants will see them for centuries. You will always be able to go back and hear the stories of your family member in their own voices. Many times, the whole family chips in to have a life interview made for their family member, It makes a wonderful gift. And sometimes folks choose to have their own life interview made as a gift to their entire family. Imagine having a life interview made of your third great grandfather that fought in the Civil War. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here. Your great grandchildren are going to be able to watch the life interview. Don't live with regret after your loved one passes on. Honor them with a life interview. Contact us for details.